Aaron, thanks for joining us again. Fireside chat minus the fire and being next to each other. We'll do that next time when I'm in Salt Lake City. But we talked about last video on like mistakes and onboarding mistakes. But like I want to talk about how do you actually set up an onboarding sequence right from the start? Like what's your process for building out proper onboarding?
Yeah, so great question. Depending on your product, like I work with a lot of products that are super complex, and then I work with some that are like just really like straightforward. And I love your approach of like, going into a product, stripping out all the other stuff and like focusing on the one thing that has the most value. Mm-hmm. But for some companies, they don't have that. So, but either way, the first thing that we do is we want to identify who's using your product and what are they using it for. And so we want to segment out your users. And so the first step is segmentation. And we figure out, okay, who is the user using the tool for? Why are they using your tool versus other tools? And what is it that they're trying to accomplish with the tool? And then once we identify that, then we can create onboarding sequences. The goal is to have really, in an ideal world, you'd have like unlimited onboarding sequences for every unique individual, right? Like in an ideal world, that's what you'd have. That's what you do with enterprise sales. You can't do that at scale, but you can figure out like what are your top customer profiles and mm-hmm. what do they want to accomplish with your tool, and segment them out at the beginning of the onboarding process. So each individual segment can be led to the right moment in the tool where they see value and have the right experience. So the first thing is segmentation for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah. Cause like give you an example. Mailshake, we got salespeople, marketing people, PR, recruiters. If I sent a recruiter sales stuff, they would like, what the heck are you talking about? I don't care. I'm in the wrong software. I should cancel.
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Yeah. What do you do after that?
So after we do segmentation, we come up with what we call like the first value hypothesis, which is what is it that we think the user needs to accomplish in the tool to get to their moment of first value. And this comes from Lincoln Murphy. So there's a moment where your customer experiences the first value of the tool, which is the moment where they realize the potential that your tool has to offer. So they haven't really achieved their core desire yet. For instance, Mailshake, a really good example would be when they first upload your list and you send out your first batch of emails. You're like, whoa, that was easy. Like I didn't need to like do all this crazy stuff. They haven't achieved their core desire yet, which is schedule sales appointments and grow their business, right? But they've seen the value of the tool. So the second thing is we need to figure out what that is. Like you need to figure out what that is in your specific tool for that specific segment. And it might be different for each segment or it might not. But the way that you talk to your customers about getting to that moment might shift a little bit. So second thing is come up with a hypothesis. What is it you think your users, and the reason I say hypothesis is because most of us aren't tracking in our apps what that moment is. So having the right tool in place is like absolutely crucial to verify the hypothesis. But once we come up with a hypothesis and we test it, we see if it's working. And then design your entire onboarding around getting your specific segment to that aha moment or that moment of first value. Okay.
Yeah. Very, very smart. I think that's also a very monumental thing, right? Like as an end user, if I like did the thing, and I'm like, yeah, awesome. I'm excited, right? It's an emotional connection you can establish. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So you got that connection. What happens after there? So you kind of reeled them in, you got them on the right lane, which is segmentation. You got them to like that that first time to value, and you've given them a little bit of reward. What comes after that?
So now that they've gotten value, just like if you kind of condense all this down to like a online demo, if you were demoing your product in front of a customer, like it's the same process. Like you ask them what their pains are, they tell you what they want to get solved, you show them the tool and how it solves those problems, and then you see these little light bulb moments, right? And you see, like the customer's getting it, like they're understanding it. That's when you say, cool, well, if you'd like to experience more of this benefit, like here's the next step, and you mm-hmm. build value in the tool. So we have something called the sales sequence, and it only goes out to customers who have achieved that moment of first value or close to it. And so when they've gotten that moment of first value, we wait a couple of days for them to kind of like get into it a little bit more and use it. And then we say, hey, hopefully you've enjoyed the tool. Here's all the things that you're going to be able to do once you sign up. And we don't want you to lose out on all these other amazing things. And here's how to sign up. And then we have like a series of emails that go out that are just designed to get them to take the next step and upgrade, regardless of when the trial ends. Like we want to get people in when they're ready, and not too fast and not later. And so it's just getting them at the right time and getting them to selling them on the product and showing the value once they're emotionally ready for it.
Love it. Right. So you kind of get them to the right point before you go ask them for doing something. Right.
Yeah.
Love it. And this kind of sounds like enterprise sales done from one-to-one to one-to-many, right? I think that that's what I'm hearing when you say it. So after that, what's next? Maybe instead of me saying what's next, where does like the nurture kind of go to a sale?
So it depends. And every user is going to have like a different path, and so when we build out the sequence, we have like the value switch sequence, which is just getting them to that moment of first value. And then we have a sales sequence, and then we have kind of an indoctrination sequence, which is kind of, you mentioned this in our last conversation, which is like, here are all the great things that the tool is going to be able to do for you, and here's why you should trust us. You talk about like the Pomodoro technique, right? Like helping customers get quick wins and show them, one, how other customers are using the product, two, what successes they've had with the product, and get your customer to like get just like super emotionally invested in the idea that you are the new opportunity that can solve their problem that they haven't been able to solve yet. And so each one of those kind of sequences and those touch points all have something to do with getting your customer to trust you and like you, but also, more importantly, to see that you can solve their problem. And so all those kind of sequences work together to get that customer to that moment. And if they don't get to that moment, we want to figure out, we don't want to push them into the sale yet. We want to figure out why, like what happened. I love, we were talking last year, and you were like, yeah, we have conversations with our customers all the time. We just talk to them. I absolutely love that, because that's really the only way you're going to figure out like what is happening in your customer's life, what's happening in the market. And then once you identify those things, then you can kind of move them into the onboarding and address those objections and those roadblocks before they even have them, or while they have them, to get them to like move to the next step and sign up for the product.
Yeah. And I think one thing I want to add here, or at least maybe mention, get your feedback, is like, when you're doing this, it's okay not to know everything about your customer. And it's okay to be like, hey, instead of having a solution, the solution is let's talk and having it have a conversation. Like I remember when we first started Mailshake, I didn't know who our customers were. I had a hunch, and that hunch was wrong. Right. And so the way I fixed this was like every single person that came through the door, I gave them an option to do a call. Now, no way was this scalable. No way was it intended to be scalable. But after about 20 calls, I'm like, I think I got a hang of this. And then after about 100 calls, I'm like, I think I know who our customers are. And it was hard work, but you figure it out. So if you're kind of newer, go talk to your customers. And again, like even now, we still tell people, come talk to us. Like, because I have no clue what our customers want to solve or what they're struggling with, but I do have bandwidth and resources to help them. I just can't help them without knowing. And so, sometimes just offering a call, a webinar, a demo, whatever helps.
I know that. And I 100% agree with that. I don't care how much you're selling your product for, if it's $1 a year or $10 million a month, like you need to have conversations with your users, especially if you have any doubt at all who you're serving. Just get on the phone with them and say, hey, we just want to know how to serve you better. Like, how many people call you up and say, hey, you're using our tool. We think we're getting it, but we're not sure. We just want to make sure that we're solving your problem. Can we just talk with you and figure out if we could solve it better for you? Like, That's all you need to do, man. People, if they have a problem and if their pain is strong enough, they'll hop on the phone with you. They don't. You don't need to give them a gift card or like a free a free account. You can if you need to, if it comes to that. But a lot of times, if the pain is big enough, they'll get on the phone with you. And there's so much you can find out during those calls, not just to do with onboarding, but the entire experience and how you position the product and how you market it. So,
yeah, and I think we all already know, hopefully by now, that proper onboarding reduces churn, improves conversion rates, drives up LTV and upgrade revenue potentially in the future. But so those are very big critical things to a SaaS business. And so onboarding is not just about like how to get a sale. It's really about how to get that person using the right things. And you wouldn't believe the types of technical issues or user like errors or problems or places people get stuck are. And maybe you can figure that out with phone calls. Maybe you can look at your data and figure that out. But those are the places I think would be also valuable to kind of offer help.
yeah.
Like let's say somebody's trying to connect a Google account. It's like, oh, try twice. Hey, do you want to just join this webinar? Let me send you this article on how to do it. Maybe you're stuck, right?
Yeah.
But like knowing that based off the triggers, so triggers could be positive, but also if there's issues, you can send these emails too.
Yeah. And there's one other thing too. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I love this idea of guerrilla testing, which is like find somebody who wants to use your product and say, hey, can we just, before you sign up, can we just get our team on a Zoom call and watch you sign up for our product? Like, let's just record it. I just want to watch you sign up. That's all I want to do. And I want to ask, you could ask me questions, and then just watch somebody sign up for your product. And even if it's like you go to a coffee shop, just say, hey, I got this product. Would you mind just signing up? It'd be really helpful. This guy, it's so funny. This guy did this for Microsoft. He would just go to coffee shops and places and be like, hey, I created this tool. I was wondering if you could sign up for it, and I'll give you a free account if you like it. I mean, that's just like, it's awesome to be able to just watch over someone's shoulder and look at what they're doing and how they're signing up for the product, because you can identify so many roadblocks just by watching someone sign up for your product. I don't care if you have to pay money to get somebody to sign up for your product and watch them do it, then you'll know how that flow is and where they're getting hung up on. And then that's when like you can create the emails to help them overcome challenges. Like, hey, we know that connecting Google account is a challenge. So you make sure that you have multiple emails about connecting your Google account to make sure that they, connect it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I think all of this stuff is like, kind of sounds like basic knowledge, but for some reason people just kind of forget basic knowledge or logic when they start working for their own company. You get sucked into like the zone. So awesome. Any other steps to onboarding you think are critical or a big part of this process?
Onboarding is like, sometimes we segment out onboarding and we think, okay, if I just have the right emails, I'll be fine. Or if I just have a really good UX UI, it'll solve the onboarding problem. I would say that the real secret to onboarding is for you to figure out, instead of trying to take a slice of the pie and try to build a tool and get people and take like a certain percentage of the market away from whatever your competitors are and getting them into your tool. Find a group of people that you can solve the problem for the best and focus on that. Like if you're a booking tool, guess what? Like you're competing with every other booking tool out there. But if you're the only booking tool for accountants or professors, like right away you've narrowed in your niche. You need to talk to professors. The onboarding process is all focused around the experience the professor has and the challenges that they're having. You're going to find it so much easier to scale. A lot of these companies that we see, like big companies, they all started with one specific thing or focusing on a market, and then they branched out once they kind of figured that market out. We think we need to go in and start serving all markets before we've solved a specific problem for one market. And so it has a lot to do with onboarding, but it really has to do with like just your entire business model is pick a group of people that isn't being served yet. or that's not being served well, and solve that problem for them. And once you do that, oh man, your onboarding is going to become so much clearer. You're going to be speaking to the right person. You're going to be solving the right problems. And then after that, then you can move into another market or start to scale out.
Yeah. So here's a good example of that. I totally agree with you. I think it's very, very important because easy thing to make a mistake on. So let's say, if you look at like Grubhub, right? Grubhub, food delivery service, one of the largest ones out there. They serve pretty much every country, every area in the US. They've got UK, Europe, all that stuff. Well, they didn't start nationally. They started one city for foodies or people who are really busy. So started New York and San Francisco. And let's get the busy market, right? Like people who would pay extra money to get delivery. And then they scaled over time with different cities. Uber, same thing. But when you look at Grubhub today and you're like, I'm going to start the new better than Grubhub, you would not ever, you wouldn't, because it's logistically impossible and cost prohibited, but you would not say I'm going to start nationally. You would have to start with one area and prove out the model over time. So that's the same thing goes with like SaaS. It's like, imagine if you did have resource constraints and budget and like you could only serve one or two markets, who would they be? I think from a business perspective, the exercise also helps you understand better your total addressable market, which is one, big lever. Like if your market is too small, like I'll give you an example. We started Mailshake by the name of contentmarketer.io. It used to be a content marketing tool for content marketers. When we got down to it, after doing phone calls and a lot of things you mentioned here, we found out that our tool is really good for advanced content marketers. Do you know how many advanced content marketing people there are? Like 5,000 in the world, maybe 10,000. But like that means I have to go figure out who they are and then go sell them. And along the way, we got users through the door, and we got regular marketers, we got link builders, we got salespeople somehow that got on board. And the salespeople were like, this is awesome, better than anything else. Like the marketers like, this is pretty good. The regular content marketers like, I'm doing everything you're saying, but it's not working. It turns out the content needs to be good that they're promoting for it to work. Duh. Right. But like the salespeople, meanwhile, were like just blowing through all the usage data, and it was just like working. Right. And so my point here is that like who you target might not be who you end up getting. Also, try to figure out the number of your total addressable market and go after the biggest one or the people who have been underserved, or that have the worst experience with all the competitors. Yeah, so like if you're like a booking company and you target professors who probably haven't been targeted before because it's not a lucrative market for, the bigger companies, and you crush it for them, and then you expand a little wider and expand a little wider, you can be the best in one pond and then make your pond bigger or go to another one. But you can never be the best in a sea of freaking everyone else who's been out for longer.
Exactly. Yeah. If I could just add one more example to that. We've heard of Wayfair. You guys heard of Wayfair, which is like order your furniture online. They didn't start selling everything. They had hundreds of sites all focused on specific niches like oldgrandfatherclocks.com, rooster nests, or rooster chairs.com. Like I'm not kidding. And they would
I'm typing in rooster chairs right now.
There it was rooster something, but I think grandfather clocks was one, like old antique grandfather clocks. They just started all these really niche sites focused on a specific market and then developed into Wayfair. They didn't start off as Wayfair. Amazon didn't start off like selling everything. They sold books. Like that was what they sold. So if there's one thing, and this is like so hard for all of us to like grasp, is just focus on a specific. And if you don't have a niche right now, start serving whoever, and then figure out who has the biggest pain, and then focus on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really helpful, because I think you can misconceive saying our advice here is saying like, I'm going to have to find the niche. You could start with broad, but you should be hunting for that audience, and you should be figuring out, which is why I think the a calling and talking to your first couple customers. And I would even say like every evolution of your company as you scale it's really important to kind of talk to your customers throughout the process, because they change over time.
Market changes, customers change, their needs change. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
I can guarantee you Amazon's customers are different very today. They're whole food customers, and people shop in that places, right? Like, you would never think Amazon 10 years ago, if you're Amazon marketing guy, that like, I need to worry about this, right? And you didn't. But now you do.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome, man. Well, thank you again for the process. I think laying it out that way helpful, because it avoids making the mistakes we talked about in the first video. All right, stay tuned, guys, for the next video where we're going to talk about different onboarding techniques for various SaaS models.